It's been more than a year since my first impressions video for the seafrogs underwater housing of my Sony A7III. That video did pretty well, so I'm back here to do a full review of this housing after using it extensively out in the field. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bernard and welcome to the channel. For today's video, I'll be reviewing one of the most affordable underwater housing brands in the market for your camera. This housing is made by the company Meikon, and they also go by the name seafrogs, so don't get confused if you come across either of their websites. I am using the housing specifically made for the Sony A7III or the A7R III. However, they do make housings for most of the cameras in the market, so this video could still be useful if you just want to know about the quality of their products in general. Without further ado, let's dive into the details of this housing, pun intended. First up, I would like to share the biggest pro of the seafrog housing, and it is their price point. For anyone that is planning to venture into underwater photography or videography and would like to keep their spending to a minimal, look no further as this is the most affordable housing in the market. It is by no means cheap, as it will still set you back about 500 USD, but that price even includes a lens port. Something similar from other brands in the market will cost you at least 1000 USD and above. There are some cheaper waterproof options out there like the Deca pack, but those are essentially glorified plastic bags and more for surface level purposes. If you are planning to take your camera on scuba diving trips, the seafrogs housing is probably your cheapest option and it has a depth limit of 40 meters. As always, what you pay for is what you get. By buying a budget housing and saving some money, it means you have to sacrifice something else, and let me highlight what they are. One of them include not having full access to your camera functions. You do get access to most of the functions except the front dial, which is below the shutter release button and the joystick button. For me, I work around this problem by shooting in either aperture or shutter priority, but another possible option is to go into the menu to switch between controlling the shutter or the aperture with the back dial. However, I do not like this option as it is too time consuming. As for the lack of access to the joystick button, you can assign focus settings to one of the custom buttons and use the wheel to adjust your focus area or just shoot with a wide focus area. Considering how much money I just saved on this housing, personally, I think that this is an acceptable trade-off. Another reason why the housing is affordable is probably because of the materials used, and this is the list of materials that it is made of. Higher quality housings are usually made of aluminium, and that will be reflected in the price. I must admit that this housing does not evoke 100% confidence all the time, but after bringing it on so many dives, I must say that I have not experienced any problems so far, and it has gotten the job done, so no complaints from me. There are ways to watch out for flooding, like monitoring the inbuilt leak detection system. However, I'm not sure if mine was poorly constructed or if I was really careless, but mine broke off a few months after using. Another way would be to use the pre-dive vacuum leak system. I do not own this yet, but I do plan to get myself one in the near future to give myself a peace of mind when entering the water. Another thing that has deteriorated over time was the front element of the dome port. I honestly do not remember mishandling the item, but it's accumulated scratches over time. I personally wouldn't mind spending a bit more if this specific part of the housing was constructed with a more premium and durable material, as bumps are inevitable over time. So do take note and be extra careful when handling the front element. That said, I am thankful that whenever I'm underwater, the scratches never ever show up in the shots even at 17mm f4. However, when I'm on the surface, the scratches are pretty visible. I would now like to talk about my biggest issue with this housing, and do take note of this one because it is important and it could potentially save you money and tons of frustration. If you take a look at the back of the housing, there are quite a few rubber pieces that are meant to hold your camera in place. The thing about these rubber pieces is that they are detachable. On numerous occasions, while removing my camera from the housing, the rubber pieces are prone to coming off, and I didn't realize it, and it has caused quite a few problems. When I place the camera back in, as the camera is not perfectly in place, I will not have access to certain functions of the camera as the buttons are not able to come into contact with the camera. It took me quite a while to realize what the problem was, and purchasing a missing part was just a waste of time and money. So do take note of this each time you remove the camera out from the housing so you are able to find the rubber pieces before you realize you lost them for good. Another thing that I think you should take note of is the dome port. On their website, it is advertised that I can use the Sony 55mm f1.8 with this port. On land, I could focus perfectly fine. However, whenever I enter the water, I could never find focus with this lens. I believe that this has something to do with the refraction and the minimum focusing distance, but bottom line is, this lens will not work with this pod as advertised underwater. I know it seems like I've listed more cons than pros so far, but I do think that the price of this housing makes up for all the flaws I have mentioned. I guess another pro of this housing is that it is pretty lightweight because of the materials it is made out of. This makes transporting it relatively easy, but do take note that this product is pretty bulky and takes up quite a lot of cargo space. My last tip for you will be to use a camera tray with this housing. As the housing is very buoyant, a camera tray will allow you to make it more neutrally buoyant and allow you to attach dive lights to it. Another reason is that you make handling the housing more ergonomic. As the housing is very bulky, you would probably struggle to hold it firmly. With the tray handles, it will definitely deliver a better handling experience and allow you to capture smoother videos. But with that said, I have used this camera housing without a camera tray and dive lights, and I'm still able to achieve decent shots. I have pretty much highlighted all my likes and dislikes for this housing, and it is now time for my recommendation. Personally, if I were to rewind time, I would still buy this housing again. For a person that is just entering the underwater world, this price-friendly housing makes it a very good option, and I would recommend it to beginners. Unless price is of no concern, almost every other brand would probably be a better choice. However, that is one big and expensive if. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. That's all for this video. It's a wrap!